Hey, Codem family, I'm here with Harold Crawford, who is appearing in our February issue for Black History Month. Harold is one of the first Black costume designers in Hollywood. And so for Black History Month, man, we wanted to bring you on, sir, to celebrate you for Black History Month. So, Harold, say hello to the Codem family.
Hello, Coden family. Happy Wednesday afternoon. How y'all
Yes,
doing?
sir. Yes, sir. Yes. Good to see you, man.
Good to be
Um,
seen.
yes, good to talk to you, Harold. You know, you and I have been talking for a while, and we become buddies uh, throughout this process.
In
Uh,
a very interesting way, yes.
yeah, yeah. So let's just get into it, man, because I
Okay,
don't know how many people know who you are,
okay.
but you are from California.
Yes.
And your career started off amazingly because it was suggested to you to enter into the world of costume design. Talk to us a little bit about how you got your start, Harold.
Well, first off, I'll start with this. Graduated from Compton High, so I'm straight out of Compton. 1968. Proud of that one. And I studied art and theater in Palm Springs at Palm Springs High School. But when I graduated from Compton High, I was dating a young lady, and I did an illustration for her. And over the summer, she had, without me knowing, registered me into a fashion institute. I didn't find out about that until 10 years later, when my cousin ran into her in Chicago and she asked him, how did I like the birthday present that she sent me? So I was registered into a fashion institute as a birthday present. And while I was there, I started working at Orbox, one of the high-end fashion department stores. I think they were located in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. And the young lady while I was there, this young lady and I started dating. Her mom happened to be a well-known actress on a TV show. I think it was One Life to Live or something like that.
Wow. Okay.
And she suggested that I go to Paramount Studios and fill out an application for wardrobe. I said, okay. I still remember walking through the turnstile at Paramount Studios and filling out the application. And about a month or so later, um, I had about a month or two later, after I finished working at Orbox, I got a call to join at that time, it was called the Minority Labor Program. At that time, they had a movement in Los Angeles, California, Hollywood, to get faces of color behind the camera.
That's beautiful too, man.
And there were three organizations that were spearheading that. One was the NAACP, the other one was Affirmative Action, and then there was the Minority Labor Program or Minority Labor Pool, and they were geared. Their primary interest was getting faces of color in every position behind the camera, whether
Okay.
it be hair, makeup, wardrobe, lighting. And at that time in Hollywood, there was there was an interest, but not to the point of being behind the camera in major studios.
Okay.
There were only a handful of faces of color in major studios. I still have the chart, actually, from the
Wow.
minority
Okay.
program. And it shows in each studio the year how many faces of color professionally in the studios. You know, they call them, I think the title was professionals. At Warner Brothers, they had maybe two or three. At Paramount, I don't think they had any. You know what I'm saying? So
Right. Right.
and I fell into that category. And I think with the minority labor program, I was the only face of color that went through that program as an apprentice. This was an apprenticeship. And I ended up working at the four major studios
Okay.
for 1 year. My first assignment was 20th Century Fox. They had just, Julia with Diane Carroll was on hiatus. And when I finished my 3 months there, my next assignment was Paramount Studios. Um, I ended up doing errands back from the wardrobe department to what at that time Western Costumes, and I also during that time I was introduced and I met Clarence William III from
Wow.
Mod Squad.
Okay.
And then when I finished my 3 months at Paramount, my next stop was Warner Brothers. At Warner Brothers again, it was 3 months, but this time I had someone to mentor me, and I
Nice.
called his name. His name was Jack Delaney.
Okay.
And when I walk in, Jack he looked at me. He says, "Okay, now you're here to be a costumer. They're going to be expecting you on this set." So they took me. I was escorted to the back lot of the TV series or movie of the week. It was called The Skin Game with Lou Gossett Jr., Jim Garner, and Brenda Sykes. My first time ever walking on the set as a costumer, as an apprentice costumer. And I think it was Lou Gossett Jr.'s first time of seeing a face of color behind camera. We celebrated each other. Hey, man, hey. And from that moment on, I worked on that TV show, and he and I became friends throughout the years.
That is beautiful.
In
All right.
fact,
So go
yes,
ahead.
go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
And the last movie I did with him was called Father and Son with
Okay.
Blair Underwood, Ray Don Chung, and Lou Gossett Jr., and Clarence William III.
Yeah. Yeah. So before we get deep into this, I
Okay,
know
go ahead.
you're gonna get on me because I'm calling you a costume designer, and I know
Yes,
that's not what you
yeah.
so I know you already gonna get over here, Harold. So let's fix this right now. So tell us what the difference is between a costume designer and the position that you really had. So you call
Costumer.
you a costumer.
Yeah.
So tell us what a costumer is and what a costume designer is.
A costume designer is a person that sets the tone for wardrobe for the clothes for a movie.
Okay.
You know, sometimes they may design specific costumes for an actor and have them made. And there are times when, and then they have access to tailors, seamstresses, and they fit. Let me see. I worked on Men of Honor, and I
Yes.
believe the designer, uh, the uniforms that Cuba Gooding Jr. wore, he designed them. They were made for him specifically.
Okay.
The
Wow.
khaki, all of that, those are
Right.
tailor made for him. So designers, they have that kind of access,
Okay.
quoting fabric and doing all that. Now, once all that's done, it becomes up to me, incumbent of me to make those costumes work. So in other words, like a designer that designs an automobile, all the parts, puts it together, he designed all the parts. Now he gives it to the mechanic, the builder, to make it work because it's no longer in his hands. Once the clothes come in my possession, it's my responsibility to make sure that everything that the designer has created, make sure it works and is functional. So I like being a costumer. I've been a costumer a long time because one of the things about my experience is being a costumer, I get to wear all those hats.
Yeah.
I get to be a
Right.
costume designer. I get to be I'm the costume designer. I'm the wardrobe supervisor, and I'm the costumer. I'm everything. I get to
Yeah.
wear
Yeah.
all those
Yeah.
hats, and there are times those positions are defined because the production defines those positions because they have the money and they can afford it.
Yeah. I know George Tillman, who's the producer director of Men of Honor. And I
Yeah.
remember when we talked before, Harold, you talked a little bit about the scene that where it was a pretty dramatic scene, and
Yes.
the
Yes.
real Carl Brasher, he
With the
didn't
real
even want to
Congress.
be in the
Yes.
room when you guys were shooting the scene. We had to make the decision about the
Right.
amputation. To go into
Right.
a little bit about that and how your costume and the wardrobe that was worn in that scene have impacted him so much.
Well, I don't think it was. It wasn't so much the costumes. It was the reliving and the recreating that moment.
Okay, okay,
It wasn't a costume. That was what I did. I went that extra step because I
okay.
wanted to have that conversation with him. So that when we were filming it with Cuba, the sweat and all of that, to make sure that everything was in place,
Okay. Okay.
worn accordingly. Because they'd move in for the close-ups, all of those things. I wanted to make sure the sweat, because that was he expressed to me. That's what he was things that were happening to him, to
Yeah,
make that
man.
decision to lose his to amputate his leg.
Right.
You know,
Right.
um, so that was, I think, and as I said, they moved the trailer close to the set, if I remember, uh, but he never came on the set for that particular scene. He was always around for a lot of the other things, but I find that at times when I'm working with actors, in particular uh, movies, I've had the privilege to do historical ones like King, uh, Men of Honor, Woman Called Moses,
Okay.
Freedom Road, and geez, on and on and on.
Man,
There's
great
certain
titles, Harold. Great titles.
uh, there's certain moments that I consider, when as I'm reflecting and I'm sharing with you and anybody,
Yes, sir.
I consider to be historical, and it was when I think about it, it's a privilege and an honor to have been a part of that creation. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I sat by Martin Luther King Day. I watched King. I watched the movie again, and it was like a trip down memory lane. And it still gets emotional, with Art Evans and Paul Winfield, and there was a few other actors that I worked with there. Um, it was still an emotional moment. Still that, and for me, recreating those moments with clothes, to where the actors they're free to express themselves.
Right.
That's the idea of that's the idea of a costumer, a costume designer. The idea is to create these wardrobes and costumes for the actors to freely express themselves. Movement is important.
Yeah. Now, Harold, do you feel like you've had an impact on American or Black American, our wardrobe? Because I mean, we're watching and deciding what to wear based on what you put on the actors and how you had them wear clothes. So, do you think you had any influence on American design or how Black people dressed off camera? I mean, outside of the movies?
Um, Maybe just a little
O-
bit.
Okay. Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
a
I
little
just
bit.
Just was wondering, man, because the theater and film, it influences what we do in real life.
Absolutely,
So I
absolutely.
feel like you probably had some influence on a shirt that we wore or a suit
Yeah,
and the way we wore the suit and how fly we looked
absolutely.
when we was trying to dress.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I know you've worked on over 100 projects in Hollywood, and I know that Benson was one of your most favorites. Talk to us a little bit
Yeah.
about Benson.
Oh man, Robert Guillaume. He became my first mentor of color.
Really? Okay.
Yes. Um, I was in between show. I just finished something. I don't know what it was, and a buddy of mine. You know, we were two. There was just a few eligible black costumers in Hollywood, and as I said, I have the list actually of where there was originally 25 black costumers from the 70s and the 80s in Hollywood, and I'm on that list. We're on that list, and so the head of ABC Wardrobe, she called myself and my friend Martin. I call him Martina because that was his name, Alfred. I call him Alfredo Martin, but his name
Okay.
was Alfred Martin. He later became a well-known black actor's personal dresser. But she called us in for an interview
Okay.
because when Robert Guillaume got Benson, he decided, I want my own dresser. He had that kind of leverage.
Woo.
So she called us both in, and we're standing there. She says, listen, Robert Guillaume, he wants his personal dresser. So I have you both here, and you both will have a week with him. So who wants to go first? And so I'm standing there and saying, hey, man, you go. He said, no, you go. I said, no, go ahead. Just go. No, you go.
Okay.
We went back and forth. We're okay. He says, okay, I'll go. And he did. And
Okay.
I stayed back and I did maintenance and wardrobe for 1 week. And he had a week with him. So when his week was up, it was my turn. Now, in all my time of working, it's at that time, it's rare for a black costumer I think, to be in that position. You know, I've done Amen as a black costume. I've done all of those, but then to be a personal dresser,
Right.
that's
For
a
the
whole different thing.
for the primary actor on the show.
For the primary actor, yes, sir. And so when my turn came, I walked in and I'm sitting there and I'm buttoning his shirt and my hand's shaking. And he put his hand on mine. He says, "Baby, it's okay. It's all right."
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. And so from that moment on, we did the show and everything. And then we the next week, the designer, she calls us both in and she says, "Now Robert has decided who he wants to be his personal dresser for this show." And she said, "Harold, he chose you."
Woo.
And that was history from there. He became my mentor. Uh, we hung out. We didn't have, it wasn't like hanging out after work. Our relationship became close on the
Okay.
set.
Okay.
He went to Vegas to do a show, and he went to Vegas to do a show. He made sure that I went with him. And then when we finished the show, I think I did 4 seasons with him. And when he finished the show, uh, I forget what I was doing, but I eventually ended up at ABC doing stock for General Hospital. Now, back in the day when you didn't have answering machines answering. You had pagers,
All right.
answering service. You had a real person on the phone. You could gossip with them. They could screen your calls for you.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I was at ABC and I was leaving, and I forgot to check my messages. So I went back and I called my answering service, and she said, "Ooh, Harold." I said, "What?" She said, "One of the Jones assistants is calling for you." I said, "She is?" Because I liked her. She was cute too. I thought she was calling for me.
Okay.
She said, "Call
Okay.
me." She said, "Call her." And so I called her. So I called her, and she said, "Harold, Robert needs to speak with you." I said, "Okay." She said, "Give him a call." So I called him. I called him, and someone answered the phone, and they handed him the phone. And I said, "Hey, man, how you doing?" He says, "I'm good." He said, "Listen, I'm down here at the Arlington Theater, and I'm doing Phantom of the Opera. And I'd love it if you'd be my personal dresser." I said, "It would be an absolute privilege and an honor." Because the whole time that I spent with him, as I said, our relationships were intimate. I was with him when he got it, his license plate said, "Who knew?" I said, "Man, what does that mean?" He says, "Well, when I got this show, who knew?" And then another time, I'm in there dressing him, getting him ready, and there's this gorgeous young lady sitting in his room, in the outer room. And I walk in and I said, "Man, she's beautiful." He said, "Yeah, she is." I said, "Yeah." And he said, "No, I think," he said, "You see that young lady?" I said, "Yeah." He says, "What do you think?" I said, "She's beautiful," something like that. He said, "I'm going to ask her to marry me."
Wow. Okay.
I said, "Wow." That's what I said. "Wow, she's beautiful." And they got married. But he confided in me one of those most intimate moments.
That's outstanding, Harold.
You know what I mean?
Outstanding.
And
Yeah.
so,
Yes.
and so when we got Phantom of the Opera, I remember when I walked, he said, I said, "I'm on my way." I caught the bus and I was on my way. I got there and they were waiting for me. When I got there, they ushered me in. And I remember he was on stage rehearsing one of his songs for the Phantom. And they let him know that I was there and they stopped everything. So he and we went out and we hugged, "Hey, baby, good to see you, man," all that. Um, and then we were standing at the craft service table. I was happy to see him. He was happy to see me. And we were smiling without realizing it. So we took the coffee cups and we went into the dressing room. We put them down and we jumped up and hugged each other because
Right.
history was made.
History. History. Now, Harold, I got to
Yes.
talk to you about you because you fell in love and that changed the trajectory of your life too, bro. So talk to us a little bit about when you got married your wife and the decision that you made to come to Cleveland from Hollywood.
Oh man, this lady right here, I would say, I would preface it by saying this: I wouldn't be talking to you if it wasn't for her.
Okay.
When we met, I fell in love with her 20 years before I asked her on a date.
Wow.
I watched,
Talk to
I
me.
was,
Wait. You knew her 20 years or you knew the idea of her for
I
20 years?
knew her 20 years before. I saw her
Okay.
for the first time. I saw her. I fell in love with her. Scared. I was a
Wow.
rascal, Hollywood rascal. You know, I had a reputation. I was a mess. I was making movies. I was doing award shows, tuxedo and limos. I was a
Yes.
single guy. I mean, I had the ladies. I had my share of women, but I was basically a single guy. My reputation was, you know, what it was.
Okay.
and
Okay.
but I would always drive around in limos that was where I got around at times. And so I felt intimidated by her. And eventually we got to, I think the whole time in that 20 years before we actually got to know each other, got really close, I could say of that 20 years, you could put our conversation in the context of 5 hours. Hi. What you doing? Nothing. Okay. I'm getting, that type of thing.
Yes, sir.
And though one day circumstances put us in front of each other and we started talking and we started talking more. Then we started getting closer. Then we started talking about things in each other and what we wanted and our desires. And I remember I had my place sister. Like I said, I'm this guy that I'm this guy. Uh, when I got to, when I knew I was in love, I stepped off a curve and my heart jumped. I had butterflies. That's when I knew. She wasn't around, but I knew it. And then I went to my sister. When I finally went, I got up the courage out to the beach. Constance and I, we had been dating for a while, and we started living together. I said, let's get married. And when I said that, no, wait a minute. I had dressed up, and I had gone to my sister's house, my place sister's house, and I was hyperventilating. She started laughing at me. And she gave me a bag. She said, here, breathe into this, because I'm this solid guy,
Hmm.
and this solid guy don't start doing that. And that's what I did. And when I finally asked her, we had started planning a wedding, started planning this and planning that, and it got to a point uh, we both didn't know what to do,
Hmm.
how we were going to go about this, because everybody was wanting this and people wanted that. And I said, "Do you want to just elope?"
Oh, wow. Okay.
She said, "Yeah." So she got her best friend to be her bridesmaid, and we went to Las Vegas and we got married. That's how we got married.
Amazing. Amazing. Now that is that what brought you to Cleveland
No,
getting married?
what brought me to Cleveland was I was working on a movie, and she was flying back and forth visiting her family, her son and grandkids.
Okay.
And one of those trips, she came back and she was on the phone talking to her son. And when she was having a conversation with him, I really wasn't thinking about anything. I wasn't even listening to the conversation. I wasn't even ear hustling or anything. But I knew she was talking to her son. And I just came out and just blurted it out. I said, "Do you want to move to Cleveland so you can be near your kids and grandkids?" She looked at me and said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Yeah." Okay. And that's what we did.
That's
So we
what you
sold
did.
what we had and we moved here. And while we were moving, I was still working on the movie in LA, and we moved here and she unpacked the house and that we're in today. Um, and we've been here ever since. I fell in love with Cleveland my first time I came to visit. I fell in love with Cleveland when I got off the plane. And I never looked back.
Wow. Wow.
I was able to being here has enabled me to reinvent myself. Um, I my stint with theater in Hollywood was Les Mis and Phantom of the Opera. That was it.
Right.
Um, by the way, when I did Phantom, Carol, Diane Carroll, Lou Gossett Jr., and everybody came backstage. I was able to usher them in to congratulate him because when he got that, I just want to say that, and I'll get back to you.
Yes, sir.
It sent shockwaves through Hollywood because he was the first black man.
Right.
He beat out everybody that could sing. That was an amazing thing. I'll never forget that moment.
That is
Yeah,
beautiful, Harold. That is history, bro. History.
yeah. And so um, when I got here, uh, I was flying back and forth, and then her mom suggested I go to Caramel House Theater. I
Okay.
said, "Yeah, I went to Caramel. I am, braggadocio. Hey, I'm Harold Crawford. I do costume Hollywood. Here's my resume." And it went into the circular file because who are you? Huh? Nobody. They didn't know who I was. And then uh, someone came and found out that who I was from Hollywood, and they came to our home and interviewed me. And when they interviewed me, um, they got all the information wrong. They got my phone number wrong. They got my email address wrong. And when I read the article, a lot of that was wrong.
Mm.
So I don't know what they were thinking. But then I don't know if you know Terrence Spivey.
Yeah.
Terrence Spivey discovered me.
Really.
Yeah, when I was Terrence had just came in from Terrence had just been recruited from New York to Caramel. And he said he was walking down and he saw this, the neighborhood newspaper that said Hollywood costumer. And he picked it up, he started reading it, and he wanted to know who I was.
Mm-hmm.
So he called the number, that was wrong. He tried to email me, that was wrong. And the only other number was the number where my wife worked.
Okay.
She's a trainer, she's a physical trainer. So he called her, she was working for the Y. She gave him my information. He called me and we met at Severance Hall, I believe it was. And we talked for about 4 hours about movies and TV shows, about my life, what I did in the industry. He wanted to know everything. Through a and then we didn't speak anymore. And then there was a tragic accident. Someone that was the costumer for Caramel House Theater, um, he got a beefsteak and he died.
Oh, wow. I'm sorry
And
to hear that.
so Terrence called me. He said, "Hey, man, I don't know if we can afford you, but if you would, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love you to come and do this play at Caramel." I was ecstatic. I said, "Oh yeah, man, I'm cool. I'll do it." And the play was called Permanent Collections. And when I finished that, I ended up there for 4 seasons. Terrence and I
Wow.
became partners,
That's
you
amazing.
know. But then the one thing about working at Caramel for me, I had I had no idea the history. Not only that, the actors that I had worked with in Hollywood, California, that came through
Came through
Caramel.
Caramoo as a
I worked
nation's
with
oldest black-owned theater.
and I worked with Ron O'Neal. I worked with him twice. I did a movie called Freedom Road, and I did Sophisticated Gents. Thelma Sasulala, I believe it is. Uh, um, Lou Gossett Jr., Ruby Dee, Cicely Tyson. Uh, you know, the list goes on and on and on. And I worked with these people in Hollywood and other places outside of Hollywood. Only then did I realize when I was at Caramel what greatness I had, the people that I had worked with. Uh, Richard Roundtree, I worked with Richard Roundtree. We did a thing called 413 Hope Street with Richard Roundtree.
Amazing stuff.
So I've had the privilege of really working with some of the most iconic actors that were trailblazers. Was it Melvin Van Peet?
Yes, sir. Yes, yes, yes.
Uh,
Yeah, yes,
oh,
yes.
Matt Sinclair. Oh, and the list goes on and on and on and on with
Yeah,
people
so
like.
Harold, I
Yes,
know
sir.
that you had an incredible, incredible career. And this April, you're going to be honored for that incredible career. What is going to be the honor that you will be receiving here coming up in April of 2026?
No, it would be actually it's April 5th. No, I think it's April 4th or the 5th.
Okay.
I'm going to be inducted in the, let me get it right, the Hollywood. I'm going to be inducted. I finally asked my publicist. She said, now I can say it. I'm being inducted in the California Music American Entertainment Hall of Fame in Beverly Hills.
That is fantastic, man.
I will be the first costumer in film and television history to be inducted in the Hall of Fame.
Now, how does it feel? So you've been the first in many,
And a
many
whole lot of
different
things.
areas. Yes, Harold. And here you are still being the first.
Yeah. Um, you know, I, last year I finished a movie with Peter Lawson Jones uh, and Kim Whitley, and I can't think of the other name right
Okay.
now. Um, but when I finished that movie, I celebrated 5.5 decades as a costumer. And when people say costume designer and all that, and and people used to say the first, I would always correct them and say, no, I'm one of the first costumers. And having a display in the Western Reserve Historical Society Museum is one of the first costumers to have a display. I am honoring those that I came up with that are no longer here.
Right. Right.
They you watch and we all worked at Universal Studios together. I can talk about and I can talk about that list. I'm all of those people. I look at I look I'm represent I feel like I'm representing all of them because nobody knew we existed. Even if we're doing white TV shows, nobody knew we existed.
And now they do. Now they
When
do.
I do this, I can call their names today.
Okay. That is
John
beautiful,
Lennon.
Harold.
Yeah, I can
Harold,
call
that
their
is beautiful,
names,
man.
man. So that to me is what makes this so special.
It is special, bro. And I love the fact that we're able to have you in Code M Magazine. Family, if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe to Code M. Uh, just an incredible career. It's an honor for me to be able to talk to you today and just have you in our Black History issue because you just represent the best of us, bro. You're a trailblazer. It's very difficult to be the first, right?
Oh, it's a challenge.
It's a challenge,
There's a whole lot of responsibilities that come with that.
whole lot of
You know,
responsibility. Yeah. So how does it
yeah.
feel to be the first? You know what I mean?
It, it, man, I tell you something. I My peers, I always felt that I wasn't enough because I looked
Mm,
at them and they were working. Everybody was, they were busy, and I always felt because I wasn't, working in the industry. Unless you have family, people that surround you, then you're by yourself. I was by myself a lot, and but I had family, but in Hollywood, I didn't have family. I just had my dad, relatives. But then in Hollywood, it's like being in a place all by yourself on your
yeah.
own.
Right. Right. Now, when you say by yourself, obviously family and everything, but as a Black man
Uh,
reaching the pinnacles that you reached, are you
yeah,
saying by yourself because you're the only Black in a room?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
Walking in, or on a set. The only face of color.
Right.
Um, I think one of the in the early on, one of the first things. Well, there's always been one of the first. I say one of because this is another one. There was a magazine called. I'll text it to you, but uh, I was a young lady interviewed me while I was doing living single. And she put me in this category. When the magazine came out, I was in this category of five. I was considered one of five most influential black costumer, black people in Hollywood.
Right.
And that was a rare thing because none of my other peers have, as far as I know, other than I think Ruth Carter, who eventually she got her flowers from what was it, Black Panther and Anaconda. I'm not Wanaconda. That's where she got her
Wakanda,
from.
yes, sir. Yes,
Wakanda.
yeah.
That's where she got
Right.
hers. And then my friend Francine Jameson, um, she finally got hers for the musical of Living of about a movie about not Living Color. I can't think of the movie right now, man. My
It's
mind
okay.
is so please forgive me.
No, it's okay,
But
bro.
these two black women were the first women of color to be acknowledged and to get an Academy Award, or just to be acknowledged.
Right.
And
Right.
so, of all of my male peers, I'm the first one of all of us.
Man, that is an incredible, incredible accomplishment,
Mhm.
Harold. Man, I'm
Yeah.
so proud of you, and I'm excited to know you, and continue to speak with you.
Oh yeah, we can talk some more. We still got to break bread.
Yeah,
At
we
least
yeah we do we do yeah
at
we do.
least I owe you a glazed donut.
Yeah, but I promised you we get you out of here in a half an hour, man, and it's so good to speak with you today, sir.
Thank
And
you.
listen, congratulations again. I'm sure we'll be connecting before April so we can chop it up and talk about preparing for that. And Code M, this is Harold Crawford, one of Hollywood's first black costumers. I got that right, right, Harold? Yeah, got it right, right. First black costumers. And Harold, we just appreciate you spending some time with us and, blessing us with, your story and your tutelage and, just listening to you speak. This is what we need as black people. We need to continue to blaze trails, push forward, be the firsts. We have more work to do, and that is because of men like you, Harold. So I thank you for your leadership and everything, bro. So enjoy the rest
Uh,
of your day.
I got one other
And
thing. Let me just
yes,
have one
sir.
other
No, go
thing.
ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
I when you called when I just finished with
Okay.
my writer working on my memoirs, so I'm
Okay.
working on my memoirs as well,
Yes,
and
sir.
we're looking to have that out. Oh, maybe we'll see, but it's coming. So
Okay. Well,
I
then,
just finished
hey,
that.
we'll
I'll
have to
keep you posted
preview
on
that.
that.
Yes, keep us posted, and we'll make sure we get that in the magazine and talk a little bit about that
Sure.
because you need to get that memoir out so then you can listen. Here's the goal. We want somebody sitting in a classroom or somebody in college to see this and say, you know what? Harold just gave me permission to go ahead and pursue my dream and be the first.
Be
Maybe
one,
they
be the
want to
first.
be the first in engineering and something else or
Whatever it
something.
is,
Yeah, whatever it is,
whatever it is,
Harold.
be the
Yes,
first. Be the first.
yes, be the first.
Stay true to who you are
Yes, yes.
always.
So with that, we will say goodbye and enjoy the rest of your day.
Happy Wednesday afternoon.
All right.